Hey there, holistic podcasting fans. It's your buddy Adam from Podcasting Business School. That's the podcast where I help frustrated podcasters learn how to stop hearing crickets and start making money, even if you have a small audience. Be sure to check out episode number 281, where I help you discover where you're at in the podcasting success timeline. You're listening to the Holistic Podcasting Podcast, and it's time to bring out your host, my pod pal, Kristin.
Hey everybody, today's podcast is really for anyone who is looking to start a podcast in 2023. And maybe you are one of those people that I have talked to over these last 10, 11 months of, I really want to start a podcast, but I'm not quite sure where to start. Or maybe it's like so overwhelming that you are struggling to find the energy or get past the overwhelm, and that's okay. Maybe you wanted to establish your business first. I know there's a lot of coaches out there that started a business and they really wanted to get that anchored in and before they started jumping into the podcast platform. Or maybe you felt this inner nudge inside of you saying yes to something more for your business. Whatever the reason, this episode's for you. I get a lot of people who want to start a podcast, but again, they get that overwhelm and then they freeze. They don't know what equipment to use. They don't know what hosting platform to use. They don't even know where to start. And it can be a very overwhelming process, and that is okay. Even just thinking about equipment it can feel overwhelming, but I want to encourage you by the end of this episode. I really want you to feel aware, prepared, excited about this new adventure for you and your business. So with this conversation, I want you to be aware of something that I am so excited about launching into January, into the new year. And it's something that's going to be helpful for you as you are planning for the next best thing for your podcast. And I am launching a course that is going to start January 30th. It is called Podcast Bootcamp. And it is from, excuse me, you guys, I'm still getting over the cough of COVID. It is from idea to launch. And what this is going to be a 60-day group coaching course where I will guide you through starting your podcast, and we will take your beautiful, impactful dream and we will bring it down into bite-sized, actionable steps to help you successfully launch your first episode and see your little baby out in the world and hear yourself. It is one of the greatest gifts that I've had the pleasure of coming alongside so many podcasts and hearing people's ideas and their dreams come into fruition. So, topics that we'll include in this group coaching style of launching a course will be equipment. It will be podcast art tile. You're choosing your platform. You're choosing all the little nitpicky things like the intro and the outro, the show description, all of those things. I'm going to come alongside you and help you to start from the get-go and create a very purposeful and intentional podcast. Now, I say all of those logistics. The very first thing that we start with is we are going to nail down your mission and your purpose. That has to be number one. You have to know your why before you start. You've heard me talk about it multiple times. You guys loved that episode. I had more downloads on that episode than any other episode. So that right there, if you are a podcaster, you have to know your why behind sitting behind the mic and recording every single episode. It's going to keep you grounded and solid as you continue to create content. So again, I'm plugging my 60-day group coaching course for podcast launch. It's called Podcast Bootcamp. If you are interested, I encourage you now to go sign up in the waiting list. This is not a purchasing time. I just want to see who's interested. This is getting your name on the list to see if you qualify for being a part of this phenomenal group of people that are going to be launching their impactful voices into the world of 2023. So as you're listening to today's episode, I encourage you to get to a place where you can stop, pause, sign up in the link below so that you can go ahead and get on that waiting list. Okay. All right. So if you're one of those people who are wanting to jump in to the podcasting space in 2023 and make an impact, listen to this show. I want you to start thinking about 3 things. Number 1, why do you want to start a podcast? We just talked about that. Why it's so important to know that. Number 2, who are you serving? And number 3, what do you have to offer? First, we're going to start with why, because like I said, it is the very backbone of your podcast. Why do you want to start a podcast? Here, we can really focus on the reality. What kind of impact do you want to bring? Is it you want to increase your exposure of your business? Is it you want to share your story? Is it you want to create a hobby just for fun or document some things? I would say most of my people that I work with personally are coaches. And the why is so that people can hear their value and what they bring to the table for future clients and current clients who are wanting more from their coaching. So if you think about it, if you've ever had a coach, if you've ever had a mentor, one of the best ways that we can increase our availability is to provide a podcast, right? So that's one example of a coach needing a podcast. And I've referenced this on many, many different podcasts to episodes of why it's so important as a coach to have a podcast. Well, what if you're not a coach? Maybe you are in a network marketing business and you just want to offer teaching or leadership or some sort of side conversation. For instance, I know of a couple of people who love to sell oils, but they have created a podcast around the conversation of mental health. Again, it's really just being super clear on your why. And I'm going to share this story too. There's the very clear picture of the ladies that I were talking about that sell essential oils, and then they create the mental health capacity or healing capacity in their podcast. That's why they podcast. I met with a couple of people. This was about a year ago, and they were both very excited about starting a podcast. It was more of a hobby, and I'm trying to be as nice as possible because, I'm kind-hearted, and really the ultimate goal that they wanted to do was to build a podcast on conversations that they like to have with one another. There was no real purpose. It was just, we just have fun talking to each other, and we thought that the world would want to hear it. Well, I'm here to say that very few of those podcasts last very long. Number 1, the listener doesn't know quite what the purpose of the podcast is. And number 2, you kind of burn out. You're like, well, I've had all the conversations that I wanted to say. So the point of the why is that when you are very clear on your why, on your purpose, on the days that it's real hard to get behind the mic, because there's going to be days like that. You're not going to be totally 100% motivated all of the time, right? You're going to want to know why. Why am I consistently doing this? And it's that right there. That's the backbone of knowing your purpose, your mission, and your why. So, number one, I want you to think about as you're heading into 2023 and you are wanting to start a podcast, put this little nugget in your brain and ask yourself, why? Why do I want to start a podcast? Okay. And really dig into that. All right. Number two, who do you want to serve? Most often, this person is you, but a couple of years ago. Everybody is on a journey, and you have something to offer yourself a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, right? So if you really dig into who you want to serve, it could be an age group, it could be literally thinking of one person. For me, that's so helpful. I love when I get behind the mic and I think of a specific client, or I think of a specific interaction with somebody who is asking me a question about podcasting. That helps you to know exactly who you're serving and how to create a clear message for them. You begin to understand what they're walking through, their pain points, what they need emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of those things. It's going to be really, really helpful for you as you are podcasting, whether you're a coach, your ministry, leadership, really honing in on that avatar, that specific type of person that you're looking for. And number three, what I want you to think about as you are thinking about starting a podcast in 2023 is, what do you have to offer? What are the things that people approach you about and ask you all the time? For me, it's podcasting. I mean, over and over, it's what equipment? How do you get started? What hosting platform do you recommend? So those are the things that people are constantly asking me. And what I have to offer is my experience in the podcasting world as a producer, as a content coordinator, as a management, editing, podcaster myself. So those are the things that I can offer to you as my listener. Now, if you were in ministry, then your offering is maybe young moms that are stay-at-home moms, and they really are hungry for truth of the gospel. Or maybe you have a subscription. I'm thinking of one lady in particular that I know in a networking group. She has an amazing program for homeschool parents that is a subscription for an activity kit. Okay, so what does she have to offer? She has to offer extreme hope and guidance and education to help homeschool moms, right? So really digging in to what it is that you offer and you bring to the table. And in this, if you join our group coaching, or if you are walking through a podcast launch package with me as your coach, this is something that we'll really dig into. These are your gold inside of your podcast content planning. This is where you shine your uniqueness, your light, your voice, and that is what it all brings together. So those three questions I want you to start to think about. Why do you want to start a podcast? Who are you serving? And what do you have to offer? So, all right, friends, if you are listening to this and you found this right now and you have not started a podcast yet, but all of this is really stirring within me, or within you, not within me, but within you, I want to say yes, be brave, be courageous, and do it. Try it. As with anyone that I will share this with, I just had somebody say, how long does it take to get traction? And I want you to hear that before you start, is that it's going to take at least a year of consistent activity inside of your podcast. And that's okay. I'm here for you. I'm here to cheer you on. I'm here for you to say yes, be brave, be bold, be courageous, and do it. finally say yes and see where the Lord opens a door, where he shuts the door, where he guides you, and I promise your impact is going to increase. So again, I encourage you to sign up for our group course, Podcast Bootcamp from Idea to Launch. It's a 60-day program, and come join us. Be a part of a cohort that launches all at the same time and encouraging one another. All right, that's it for today. I hope you guys all had a lovely Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you next week.
Recording stopped.